Hi, everyone. I'm Dave.
And I'm Jeremy.
Welcome to our Tech Over Coffee podcast. We're so excited to be sharing this podcast with you. One, we're filming from the main campus of Chipola College in Marianna, Florida. And wow, Chipola College, did you hear we're like fifth in the nation for our business management program?
Yeah, you actually just told me that.
Oh,
So,
well, it just was released.
yeah, well,
So, it's
from
exciting.
from good roots, right? To come a long way. Number 5. That's huge.
That is, and that's focused on affordability and quality, so we were excited about that. It's neat, we get to talk about technology, look for connections with our classroom experience, the research we're doing, and just some cool things that are happening in industry. I know you got a bunch of neat things to kind of start us off with. And one popular thing we like to talk about is cybersecurity.
Yeah.
And so cybersecurity is kind of the umbrella. It's an important focus for us on campus and working with our stakeholders. And in the industry, cybersecurity is something that's a headline every day.
Yeah, it's major. And I mean, it's something that you really want to try to focus to learn as much as you can about, right? Because it affects so many things, like from our gas prices to shipping and like anything you could expect. You're basically, if you're connected to the internet, you need to be concerned about your cybersecurity.
Most certainly, and it starts with people. I think one of the old school approaches to cyber espionage, kind of taking advantage of others, is social engineering, where you get to know people and take advantage of their good graces. So cybersecurity touches every discipline, one could say.
Yeah, and that's why you really need to know these things too, because if you don't know what you're doing or you don't know what you're looking at, someone could just send you an email and next thing you know, boom, there goes your whole pipeline.
What? You mean this wasn't an email from Disney?
No, it probably
Oh.
wasn't old Walt saying, hey, I got this cool new cartoon you should check out.
Yeah, I thought it was Loki, like a trailer for upcoming.
No,
Marvel?
unfortunately, it was Loki.virus.exe,
Ouch. Oh.
not the movie that you were trying to download.
Oh, so Colonial.
Yeah,
kinda had-
so
yeah.
we're talking about the Colonial Pipeline, right? So it kind of affected everybody in such a huge way this like last week, and so much so that I figured we should wait, get the whole story, and then come back and talk about it a little bit. They were down for, 5 days or something like that?
Gas prices just went up.
Oh, yeah. Rose quite a lot. You actually had shortages, but not because you actually had shortages of gas, but because you had people panicking
That's
about
right.
the possibility
That's
of
right.
shortages. Because if they didn't get it solved, then yeah, there really would be no gas for most of the East Coast.
It felt like a natural disaster, almost like a hurricane was imminent.
Yeah.
So it really had the same
Very-
ripple effect.
Very similar thing, right? Everybody being worried about supply. So what ended up happening is that you had a Russian group called DarkSide, I think, a big hacker group that actually apparently just disappeared out into the net, pulling something like $90 million
Ooh.
in untraceable or semi-traceable cryptocurrencies.
Wow. Now, do you think they know the Dark Reaper?
Maybe, but I'm definitely not related because these guys are Russian and I'm not. So don't look at me for anything crazy.
For the gaming community, Jeremy's
yeah.
also known as by that
Gamer tag,
font,
guys.
name.
A combination of things that you come up with when you're 13, but decide
Still-
to keep as your current email because why make another one?
That's right. And it's a good conversation piece. So
Speaking of cybersecurity, there,
Right.
it's you probably should occasionally update your emails and control your passwords and stuff. But so they basically found out about it by a ransom note on one of their control computers and their main pipeline facility. The thought is that they may have been breached months ago.
Right.
And it's something that it was likely from the business side of things. From an email from someone, ends up on a computer, and next thing you know, they get into the rest of the network. And the reason it takes down the whole pipeline, and it wasn't their intention either, it's like they wanted to lock up basically whatever they could and hold it ransom for money, right?
Yeah, even bad guys have feelings, right?
Yeah, well,
I mean, they didn't want to be
they-
really bad, just a little bad.
They're businessmen.
Yeah.
They're here to provide a service that is unlocking your files that they have stolen from you.
Totally unacceptable for sure.
Definitely,
Illegal, right?
for sure.
Felonies.
But it's a bad situation. And what do you do as the CEO of like a giant oil pipeline that is a big concern for the infrastructure of the country? I mean, everybody gets worried about this. And what do you do? How do you unlock this stuff immediately? And they're asking $5 million. And it's possibly costing you much more than that every day of having this whole pipeline down. So they went to pay it. I mean, what would you do, right? But unfortunately, they didn't need to pay it because they just used their backups in the end anyway.
So wow, a lot of neat talking points with this. If you're a competitor or kind of a colleague of Colonial, one of the other pipeline companies, in North America, learn from this. And I'm sure Colonial
Yeah.
thought they were ahead of the game. But you can never visit your business continuity, your disaster recovery plan too much. So have a robust business
Yeah.
continuity plan in place for the unexpected, a virus to come from the business side of things. Why would it come that way? Well, that's a low-hanging fruit. It could have been
Yeah.
just two people emailing in the finance office,
Could have been a number of things. I mean,
right.
this could have been state level actors. We really don't know, and because in these situations you don't really ever get the whole story, right? There's investigations that are going on. People are going to try to figure this stuff out, but it's all in the wind. This is a known hacking group that have targeted something like 40 other companies, and that's how they managed to get away with like $90 million. In, I think, Bitcoin and other things, but it's like most CEOs in most situations, they do pay. The FBI suggests that you don't, but the FBI also doesn't help you get your files back.
That's right, and you got to think the pressure. You mentioned that question about the CEO. You have to think there was a call from the White House. There was definitely a delegate from the White House because that was influencing the whole eastern side of North America,
Yeah.
the United States especially. How do you address that? You can't have these spikes in gas, so they had to solve it. Paying that ransom, though, I think the next talking point, they didn't need to do that,
But you don't know that at the time.
right, and it is goodwill, right? Even though they're bad guys, you do kind of want to move on and learn from it. And 5 million, that's $1 billion company, probably, not looking at their numbers. Are they public, private?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, so
but
we
it's
didn't-
definitely huge because they are the largest oil pipeline in the Southeast.
So, I mean, we've done things together, and I've seen like your, lunch budget and stuff. It's not quite 5 million. I mean, but you do like, a nice coffee, and you're a Dr. Pepper guy.
Sometimes I like to buy a whole mansion with my iced, drinks.
You drive a Tesla, right? So
I
that's
go
enough said. Yeah.
Show up to the Starbucks, decide, you know what, I'd like this location. Can I have it?
So, but 5 million is a lot of money for the average
Yes.
person, and for them, it was something that they could afford.
It's something that they actually likely have insurance plans for.
Well said.
That's something
Well
that you
said.
actually can do is set up something where you know that, well, we have a certain amount of contingency money just in case to keep things going. And I mean, we're back in the Wild West days of like, you have an employee kidnapped. Okay, well, we'll just give the ransom guys their money and they'll give them back to us because that's what they want to do. They want to continue to gain more ransoms by, having good faith in giving you over this stuff. But the issue is that their tools are very slow because they have a lot of files and they got encrypted heavily, right? So heavily that you can't just crack them. You have to use their tool, and their tool requires heavy computing power. And in the end, they were smart and they had physical backups. They had backups of their systems. So
Colonial, that is, right.
Colonial did, right.
Yes.
Colonial had backups and were able to re-put everything back into place without losing too much. And in the end, that's what they did. They immediately started doing backups, I think, from the start, or reinstituting their backups. But of course, you want to cover every point because you want to get the decryption software to make sure that you have everything, and you don't want them coming back just in case. So, a big company like this, that's why they get targeted.
Yes, so they kept the momentum going. They initiated the backup plan. They paid the ransom. And the bad guys, the dark team,
Dark side, something like that.
they provided the solution, but like you said, it was heavily encrypted. One reason it wasn't noticeable, right, unless they told you where it was or they gave you a
Yeah.
message, is it was very hidden, slow, methodical. So that was a slow process to get gas fuel moving again. So they had their own backup plan, which was faster. That's interesting that they still
Yeah.
paid the ransom and they didn't even really use the solution.
In the end, they
but-
didn't have to, and they just, and the CEO has to now defend that decision, which I think is the right one ultimately, because like, well, what if your backups don't work? Now all your stuff is gone, and there goes a pipeline, I guess.
Right.
Have to now refit all the computers. That would be a tough thing, and I don't know. I think it's a tough call, and you really can't make the decision unless you're there. I'm not one to really want to second guess someone's decision on a point at the time. In the end, the pipeline came back. Gas prices hopefully will recover, but good time to have an electric vehicle, just saying.
Wow. Yeah. Well, have you been in an EV before?
Once or twice, maybe when I was driving up here.
Right. Speaking by the guy who owns a Tesla.
Yeah.
Two Teslas in the family now, which may
Yeah.
be a whole episode in the future.
Yeah.
About
If you've ever
Tesla
wanted
mania.
Ever wanted to see a brand new 2021 Model Y?
Model Y.
We might have one that can come and show off, but yeah.
What's that color? Like sky blue?
It's like a metallic blue.
Metallic blue.
It's very nice.
Yeah. Maybe if
But-
you were in Minecraft, it'd be a sky blue.
Yeah, it could be like a skybox blue or something like that would be kind of cool. But yeah, you don't really want to like poke people while it's like, hey, sorry, you got to go find gas and stuff, but I just drive right by gas stations every day and don't have to worry about it. And Ford obviously is like, yeah, that's a good idea too, because they've said, yeah, they're making a electric pickup truck now.
So I have some F-150s, love trucks. They're especially good for working on projects and stuff. Nothing I really commute in per se. Leaning towards getting a Tesla for commuting. I like how that you're setting that as a good tone. But I hear the president has been in an EV recently. And
Yeah.
how does that connect with this Ford thought?
So, I mean, of course, you want the president to go check out American companies and try to like push this like American infrastructure and stuff, right? So you got the president going and checking out the new Lightning F-150.
Why wouldn't he be in a Tesla?
Because, yeah, everybody's seen a Tesla before.
Okay, that's true. That's true.
But an electric pickup truck.
Wow.
That's something that
An
Tesla's not
F-150.
doing. Tesla definitely isn't making an electric pickup truck.
Not yet, anyways. Until we get to Texas. When I say we, until they get
Yes.
to Texas.
Well, we
planet.
personally will go to Texas and build the first Cybertruck, of course. Build your Cybertruck, I believe, right?
That would be a nice vehicle, a Cybertruck. Yeah, they're still a year out before
Yeah.
the plant may be operational.
Right.
Who knows? Yeah.
But we're looking at possibly 2022 sometime before the electric F-150 comes to market. They're saying a 300-mile range. It's says 2 battery packs, either a 230-mile range or a 300-mile range. It's got a 10,000-pound towing capacity. Usual stuff that you want from a truck, right? 563 horsepower, and apparently, according to the president, pretty fast.
That's right. I think he took off in it and he was like, come on, man.
Man, wow,
Yeah.
this is exactly the street legal speed.
That's right.
Definitely didn't exceed the speed limit at all.
Yes, so bravo. So Ford and other automakers need to follow the lead of Tesla. Volkswagen, there are other automobile makers out there, manufacturers that are pushing the EV envelope.
Yeah, and everybody kind of is. And it helps for situations like this where you
I
have
know.
like
I thought of you immediately.
massive shortages.
Would you have
and,
traded my gas guzzler for your Tesla with the
like,
shortage?
If you needed to drive somewhere, I would have definitely come pick you up.
Oh, man, that's
and I
fantastic.
almost did that for a friend of mine because she had to go get gas and found the one place in Tallahassee that had gasoline. And then unfortunately, her credit card was then like skimmed from that. So, because during all of this,
Oh,
right,
people know where to go.
you know that there's a panic, you know that people are going out there, and, topic of today is cybersecurity, right? So it's all of these pin pads, key cards, things like that. You actually had security breaches at gas stations because you know that people are going out and trying to get gas.
Yeah, at all times of the day. That's right.
Yeah, so, get an electric car, you don't have to worry about gas, and maybe your card won't get stolen from you.
So, wow, nice segue from cybersecurity, talking about electric vehicles. What else do you have on the
Yeah,
list today?
so last one, I think, a topic of the day, I think is just kind of interesting. We're talking about electric vehicles, we're talking about, petroleum, fossil fuels. We should also talk about like wind power, right?
Ooh.
Wind power is actually pretty significant if you get to a windy place. And out in the,
out in the Midwest?
or out in the ocean.
Oh, out in the ocean,
Yeah,
yes.
offshore, as they say.
All right.
So GE has signed some big deal for the largest offshore wind farm. And they're at like phase 3 of the agreements, and they're selling something like 80, I think 20 kilowatt turbines or something like that, like massive amounts
So they're
of power.
selling them, or are they
Yeah.
actually installing them
So
in the...
I don't know if they're doing the installation. Maybe they are. They could be involved, right?
They do have a history with turbines, right?
Yeah.
With all the aircraft
Well, that's
building, yeah.
General Electric,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
They
yeah.
they build these electric engines, electric turbines, and power generation technologies. So they're definitely going to be involved, and it's a big move. That's a lot of power.
Have they picked locations, or have you just seen the production line, or what have you read about?
Well, so I've seen that they've made the agreements to sell them. I don't know who is setting up the power stations, right? Because that's how these things work. You make deals with these companies that produce these things, right? And you buy those and then set them up. So where they're doing it, I'm not sure. I think it's somewhere.
Right, it could be challenging. I know I've seen them not out in the water, but when you travel through the Midwest,
Yeah.
you see these huge farms and these. I never really thought of it being a GE type of thing, but they are big turbines in a sense, right? It
Yeah.
just generates electricity.
And GE is actually known for making massive turbines like that. They're involved in all sorts of big power plant situations, hydro and whatever else. So it actually is interesting to see GE, a company that I often only really associate with something like light bulbs, producing massive wind turbines.
So coming full circle, it's interesting talking about an energy company that had the breach.
Yeah.
I'm looking at other options for energy like EVs and then solar. What about that thought of one of our famous most important topics, Elon Musk, right? Still haven't seen the SNL skit that he did, so I do need to catch that. I've heard some traffic about it. But he's talked about maybe Bitcoin isn't the play because they aren't energy friendly.
Yeah.
And so, wow, I mean, you could say it about anybody. You could
Yeah.
say this restaurant that you would visit is not energy friendly because they use electricity. So,
You know, I do think that the current like global banking infrastructure sure does use a lot of electricity. But you know, hey, that's just the one that happens to be there already. Yeah, so Tesla's pulled back on their Bitcoin plans, saying that they're worried about the environmental effects. Elon Musk's still talking to the Dogecoin guys about like, hey, how can we make Dogecoin more efficient? Kind of sucks, but it's caused a pullback actually in the market as a whole.
it has, especially with crypto. It's dropped, what, 30%? It's dropped
Yeah.
a lot. in the last-
Precipitously, but it's as the case.
It was at all-time high. It was flirting, not quite with six figures, but it was getting to the high five figures.
It's up there. Yeah.
That's right. So it had some room to drop.
Yeah, it had room to move, as they say. It's got to go lower before it can go higher. And
That'd be a good like motto or something.
yeah, you know, just like buy high, sell low. It's the best way to lose all of your money. But yeah, so basically Tesla, as a more environmentally friendly company, is being a little bit concerned about every aspect of their business dealings, right? They've even recently had some settlements with, I think, the state of California over air quality concerns at their plants. So it's like these are environmental things that they're focused on. They really don't want to get in trouble with anybody over using a untested payment structure, right? Bitcoin's not untested, but there's definitely needs to be more research done into where is all the power usage coming from. And if they're being told that some high percentage is coming from coal plants, that's not good, and it's not a good image for a environmentally friendly company.
What's interesting about Elon is he really is a great example of this modern day leader that you need in almost every industry. He's an established technologist, but to actually push the envelope where people aren't comfortable quite yet, he had these heroes, you know, those first men that walked on the moon. And I've seen some talk about some videos he's done where interacting with them, or reporters have, saying, wow, SpaceX, you want to go to Mars? And his idols were like, I don't know if how you're doing is the way we do. We actually don't like what you're doing. So he's still willing to do these hard things, even if other people don't support it.
Right.
And that's a true example of leadership. And so looking now at energy, Tesla's doing incredibly well. He's a crypto guy, a Bitcoin guy. For him to say, maybe we need to revisit this. He's always taking those leadership steps, and bravo to that. I mean, that's, wow. He steps out of his comfort zone all the time.
It's a big move, and it's especially for a company like Tesla that does have large Bitcoin holdings. Whether or not they still have them, if they've sold them, if they've managed to, you know, lock in all of their profit anyway, so they don't have to worry about it, don't know. Elon is saying, hey, you know, you got to have some diamond hands, though. So got to be out there. Don't worry. It's going to fall, but it might come back. It probably will come back. You don't have to worry about that. It's just the way the market goes.
That's right. And that's a great way to kind of end our podcast this week. So
Yeah.
next week, we don't know where we're going to head, but it might be tied to crypto, probably.
Always.
Cyber, possibly. That seems to be the
Definitely.
maybe some space travel.
Love space.
That's right. Thank you, sir.
Yes.